The vagus nerve, an intricate and extensive neural pathway, often operates behind the scenes, yet its influence permeates nearly every aspect of our physical and mental well-being. As the 10th cranial nerve and the longest nerve of the autonomic nervous system, it acts as a superhighway, relaying crucial information between the brain and a vast network of internal organs. Its very name, derived from the Latin word for wandering, aptly describes its sprawling journey throughout the body, connecting with the heart, lungs, digestive system, and many other vital components. This remarkable nerve is not just a one-way street. It carries both sensory signals from the body to the brain and motor commands from the brain to the body, with a majority of its fibers dedicated to transmitting sensory information. Primarily known for its role in the parasympathetic nervous system, often dubbed the rest and digest system, the vagus nerve helps to counterbalance the effects of the sympathetic fight or flight response, promoting calmness and facilitating essential bodily functions. Given its multifaceted functions and the continuously evolving understanding of its significance in health and disease, the vagus nerve presents a compelling narrative for exploration. Its story is one that spans centuries, marked by initial mystery, persistent misconceptions, and finally, the revealing light of modern scientific discovery. The story of the vagus nerve begins in antiquity, with early civilizations attempting to understand the intricate workings of the human body. In ancient Egypt, the concept of psychostasis, or the weighing of the heart, held significant religious and medical importance. While the Egyptians recognized the heart as central to life, their understanding of the nervous system was limited, with nerves often grouped with other bodily tissues under the term métibilu. Interestingly, they did utilize the electric Nile catfish for pain relief, a practice that could be considered an early, albeit unintentional, form of neuromodulation. Moving to ancient Greece, early physicians began to formulate ideas about the body's functions. Greek thinkers believed that a particular nerve played a role in regulating breathing and controlling the voice. Before the influential work of Galen, figures like Alcmaeon, Hippocrates, Herophilus, and Erasistratus made contributions to the understanding of anatomy, but specific knowledge about the vagus nerve remained rudimentary. A prevailing concept during this era was the notion of animal spirits as the means by which nerves transmitted signals throughout the body. The first detailed anatomical descriptions of what we now know as the vagus nerve emerged in the 2nd century AD with the work of Galen of Pergamum. Due to the limited availability of human cadavers, Galen's understanding was primarily based on the dissection of animals, particularly pigs and apes. Galen described 7 pairs of cranial nerves, and his 6th cranial nerve was not a single entity as understood today. Instead, it encompassed a cluster of nerves including the glossopharyngeal, vagus, and accessory nerves, along with the sympathetic chain. Physiologically, Galen believed that nerves originating from the brain were soft and primarily served sensory functions, while motor functions were attributed to nerves that had become hard. He also proposed the idea of sympathy, suggesting that organs coordinated through the flow of animal spirits within hollow nerves. Notably, Galen observed the connection between the recurrent laryngeal nerve, a branch of the vagus nerve, and vocalization through his experiments on pigs. While Galen's work provided a foundational framework for understanding the nervous system, his reliance on animal anatomy and certain theoretical assumptions led to limitations and inaccuracies regarding the specific functions of the vagus nerve. The grouping of multiple distinct nerves into a single 6th cranial nerve illustrates the incomplete understanding of their individual roles. For over a millennium following Galen, medical science experienced a period of relative stagnation with his anatomical and physiological ideas, including the concept of the 6th nerve, largely remaining unchallenged. During the Middle Ages, the vagus nerve was sometimes perceived through a more spiritual lens, believed to be a channel connecting the body and the soul. Experimental investigation into the specific functions of the vagus nerve was scarce during this time. Prevailing misconceptions about its role likely stemmed from Galen's initial interpretations, such as the notion that it was primarily a sensory nerve and its classification alongside other cranial nerves within the 6th nerve grouping. The idea of sympathy also continued to influence how the coordination between organs via the nervous system was understood. The dominance of Galenic thought, while providing a structured understanding of anatomy, inadvertently hindered further exploration and refinement of knowledge about the vagus nerve for centuries. The lack of empirical studies meant that initial hypotheses, even if inaccurate, persisted without significant challenge. The 16th century witnessed the beginnings of a shift in anatomical understanding. Andreas Vesalius, a pivotal figure of the Renaissance, significantly advanced the field of anatomy through his detailed human dissections. However, even Vesalius initially adhered to Galen's classification of the cranial nerves, including the grouping of the vagus nerve within the sixth nerve. A notable advancement came from Vesalius's younger contemporary Bartolomeo Eustachius, who in 1563 made a crucial distinction by recognizing the vagus and sympathetic nerves as two separate entities, thereby moving away from Galen's sixth nerve concept. Further experimental evidence emerged later in the century when Piccolomini in 1586 demonstrated the vital role of the vagus nerve through animal studies, observing that cutting it led to the animal's death. Despite these emerging insights, the older concept of sympathy continued to influence medical explanations of how the nervous system coordinated bodily functions. While the 1500s marked a significant step forward with the anatomical differentiation of the vagus nerve, a comprehensive grasp of its diverse and specific physiological roles was still in its nascent stages. Medical thought continued to be shaped by historical frameworks, even as new observations began to challenge long-held beliefs. The 17th century brought significant progress in understanding the vagus nerve. Thomas Willis, in his seminal work De Cerebri Anatomy, published in 1664, provided improved anatomical descriptions of the vagus nerve and was among the first to use the term wandering nerve. Willis also made a distinction between voluntary motion, thought to be governed by the cerebrum, and involuntary motion, which he attributed to the cerebellum, with the vagus nerve originating from the latter. Later in the century, Richard Lower demonstrated the crucial role of the vagus nerve in controlling the heart through experimental studies involving the severing of the nerve. The 18th century saw further refinements. In 1727, François Pourfort-Dupety's work on the sympathetic nervous system helped to further delineate its functions from those of the vagus nerve. William Cumberland Cruikshank in 1776 conducted early experiments indicating the remarkable ability of the vagus nerve to regenerate in dogs. Notably, Cruikshank also discovered that the heart's motion was independent of its nerves. Robert Witt's experiments during this period, though not specifically focused on the vagus nerve, contributed to the broader understanding of nervous system reflexes. Additionally, Albrecht von Haller's discovery in 1753 of the heart's automaticity further refined the understanding of cardiac regulation. The 19th century witnessed the initial forays into therapeutic intervention involving the vagus nerve. In the late 1800s, James Leonard Corning pioneered early attempts at vagus nerve stimulation for the treatment of epilepsy, using devices to compress and electrically stimulate the carotid sheath. This century also saw the more concrete establishment of the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches as the two main divisions of the autonomic nervous system. The 20th century marked a period of significant breakthroughs. In 1921, Otto Loewi's elegant experiment provided definitive evidence of chemical neurotransmission by identifying vagus stuff, later confirmed as acetylcholine, released upon vagal stimulation of a frog's heart. In 1938, Bailey and Bremer demonstrated that stimulating the vagus nerve had direct effects on brain activity, revealing its afferent pathways to the cerebral cortex. The 1980s saw Jacob Zabara's pivotal work leading to the development of modern implantable vagus nerve stimulation devices for managing epilepsy. Towards the end of the century, Kevin Tracy made the groundbreaking discovery of the inflammatory reflex, establishing a crucial link between the vagus nerve and the body's immune system, specifically in controlling inflammation. The 21st century continues to be an era of intense research and expanding applications for understanding and utilizing the vagus nerve. Studies are exploring VNS for a wide range of conditions beyond epilepsy and depression, including inflammatory diseases, stroke recovery, and various mental health disorders. Non-invasive VNS techniques, such as transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation, or TAVNS, and transcutaneous cervical vagus nerve stimulation, or TCVNS, have emerged as promising areas of research. Notably, in 2020 and 2024, researchers at Monash University achieved the first recordings of vagus nerve signals in humans, pinpointing specific neural activity related to cardiovascular regulation. Furthermore, 2023 research from the University of Auckland revealed a surprising role of the vagus nerve in increasing activity during exercise to enhance blood flow to the heart. And a novel connection was discovered between the vagus nerve and the brain's control over inflammation. Year 1664. Key discovery, event, detailed anatomical description of the vagus nerve, term wandering nerve used. Researcher Thomas Willis. Year, late 17th century. Key discovery, event, demonstrated the heart's neural control by tying off the vagus nerve. Researcher Richard Lower. Year 1776. Key discovery, event, early experiments indicating vagus nerve regeneration in dogs. Researcher William Cumberland Cruikshank. Year 1921. Key discovery, event, identified vagustoph acetylcholine as the chemical neurotransmitter. Researcher Otto Louis. Year 1938. Key discovery, event, showed vagus nerve stimulation affects brain activity. Researchers Bailey and Bremer. Year 1980s. Key discovery, event, developed modern implantable vagus nerve stimulation devices for epilepsy. Researcher Jacob Zabara. Year late 20th century. Key discovery, event, discovered the inflammatory reflex. Researcher Kevin Tracy. Years 2020 and 2024. Key discovery, event, first human vagus nerve recordings pinpointing cardiovascular signals. Researchers Vaughan Macefield and David Farmer. Year 2023. Key discovery, event, vagus nerve activity increases during exercise to enhance coronary blood flow. Researchers Rohit Ramchandra and Julia Shanks. Year 2023. Key discovery, event, identified the vagus nerve's role in the brain's inflammation volume dial. Researchers University of Auckland. Researchers. Modern research continues to unveil surprising aspects of the vagus nerve's function. Contrary to the long-held belief that the vagus nerve is primarily active during rest, recent studies have shown that its activity actually increases during exercise. This counterintuitive finding indicates a more complex role in bodily regulation, even during activities typically associated with the sympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve releases vasoactive intestinal peptide, or VIP, during exercise, which helps to dilate coronary vessels and increase blood flow to the heart. This challenges the traditional understanding of the vagus nerve as solely part of the rest and digest system, suggesting a more dynamic involvement in various physiological states. Another surprising discovery highlights the brain's intricate control over the immune system. Research has identified groups of neurons in the brain stem that act like a volume dial for inflammation, with the vagus nerve serving as a crucial communication pathway in both promoting and inhibiting inflammatory responses. This reveals a previously underappreciated level of central nervous system influence on immunity, with the vagus nerve playing a key role in maintaining this delicate balance. Furthermore, the vagus nerve's influence extends beyond basic physiological regulation to encompass aspects of reward and motivation. Studies have shown that it transmits reward signals from the body to the brain, potentially explaining the emotional changes observed with vagus nerve stimulation. Interestingly, research suggests an asymmetry in function, with the right vagal branch linked to reward processing and the left branch more involved in satiety. In the realm of body perception, stimulating the vagus nerve has been found to reduce susceptibility to body illusions, indicating its role in integrating sensory information and contributing to our sense of body ownership. This suggests a connection to higher-level cognitive functions beyond its traditional autonomic roles. While non-invasive vagus nerve stimulation techniques offer promising therapeutic avenues, research has shown that their effects can be subtle and may not always manifest in expected changes in biomarkers like heart rate variability. This indicates that the mechanisms of action for TAV-ends and TCV-ends might be more nuanced and require further investigation. Finally, research has highlighted the vagus nerve's involvement in fetal development, underscoring its early influence on shaping autonomic function and potentially impacting lifelong health. The delicate balance maintained by the vagus nerve can be disrupted by various factors, leading to a wide range of health issues. Common causes of vagus nerve damage include diabetes, where high blood sugar levels can lead to vagal neuropathy, affecting digestive function. Viral infections can also directly damage the nerve. Surgical procedures, particularly those involving the abdomen and neck, carry a risk of inadvertent vagus nerve injury. Autoimmune disorders like scleroderma and rheumatoid arthritis can also contribute to vagal nerve damage. Chronic inflammation, regardless of its origin, can impair the proper functioning of the vagus nerve. The efficiency of vagal responses can also naturally decline with aging. Furthermore, prolonged physical or psychological stress can negatively impact the vagus nerve's ability to regulate bodily functions. Beyond these more recognized causes, several surprising mechanisms can also lead to vagus nerve damage. Poor posture, especially the hunched position often adopted while sitting, can compress the nerve. Misalignments in the upper cervical spine, known as cervical instability or cervicovagopathy, can also cause compression and dysfunction of the vagus nerve. Emerging research suggests that the body's immune response to infections like COVID-19 can affect the vagus nerve, contributing to the symptoms experienced by long haulers. Certain pharmaceutical drugs, particularly those with anticholinergic effects, can also interfere with vagal nerve function. Exposure to environmental toxins has also been implicated in vagus nerve malfunction, as have mold exposure and certain bacterial or parasitic infections. Even the birthing process can sometimes lead to vagus nerve injuries in newborns due to the forces involved. The consequences of vagus nerve damage are wide-ranging, reflecting its extensive influence throughout the body. Symptoms can include digestive issues like gastroparesis, abnormalities in heart rate, changes in voice, difficulty swallowing, dizziness, fainting, and even mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. The field of medicine is continuously exploring ways to heal and restore function to the vagus nerve when it is damaged. Vagus nerve stimulation, or VNS, has emerged as a key therapeutic approach. This technique involves using an implanted device similar to a pacemaker to deliver regular electrical impulses to the vagus nerve. VNS has received FDA approval for treating conditions such as epilepsy, treatment-resistant depression, migraine, cluster headache, and stroke rehabilitation. Ongoing research is exploring its potential for a wider range of conditions, including rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease. Non-invasive VNS techniques such as TAVINs and TCVS are also being actively investigated as less invasive alternatives. Research into the vagus nerve's intrinsic ability to regenerate dates back centuries, with early studies showing evidence of nerve regrowth after injury, although often incomplete. The potential of stem cell therapy for nerve regeneration is also being explored, with studies investigating mechanisms to promote nerve repair and functional recovery. Other innovative approaches, such as ultrasound stimulation and paired VNS with rehabilitation therapy, are also under investigation for their ability to promote nerve repair and functional improvement. Additionally, various natural methods are known to stimulate the vagus nerve and potentially improve its function, including deep and slow breathing exercises, exposure to cold temperatures, singing, humming, meditation, regular physical exercise, and massage. Throughout history and in modern research, numerous examples illustrate the profound impact of the vagus nerve. Cruikshank's early experiments on dogs demonstrated the effects of cutting the vagus nerve and provided initial evidence of its ability to regenerate. Piccolomini's observation of animal death following vagotomy highlighted its vital role. Modern case studies showcase the diverse applications of vagus nerve stimulation. For instance, VNS has shown varying degrees of success in managing epilepsy and treatment-resistant depression, sometimes with unexpected mood-elevating effects. Combining VNS with rehabilitation has led to remarkable recoveries in motor function for individuals who have experienced stroke or spinal cord injuries. Non-invasive VNS techniques have shown promise in improving symptoms in conditions like postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS, and in patients with disorders of consciousness. In a surprising finding, vagus nerve stimulation has even been shown to enhance the perception of sound. Conversely, case studies also illustrate the wide-ranging effects of vagus nerve dysfunction, leading to conditions such as gastroparesis and vasovagal syncope. In conclusion, the vagus nerve has journeyed from an ancient enigma shrouded in mystery and often misunderstood to a modern therapeutic frontier. Our understanding has evolved from rudimentary anatomical descriptions to a sophisticated appreciation of its complex chemical signaling, its profound influence on the brain, and its remarkable therapeutic potential. Surprising discoveries continue to challenge long-held beliefs, revealing the vagus nerve's dynamic role in exercise, inflammation, reward, and even body awareness. While the mechanisms of damage are varied and can have significant consequences, the horizon of healing offers promising avenues through vagus nerve stimulation, the potential of regenerative therapies, and the empowering role of natural stimulation techniques. The historical and modern case studies serve as powerful reminders of the vagus nerve's pervasive influence on human health and well-being. As research continues to unfold, the vagus nerve holds the key to revolutionary medical advancements, offering new hope for treating a wide spectrum of conditions and ultimately enhancing the quality of human life.